My name is Rebecca and this is Ben. And Ben was born on the 9th of April. I suppose my expectations before going in to have Ben was that, it'd be a very lonely experience. I'd heard all the stories from, aunts and cousins and friends about what their experience was like and how they couldn't do it without their partners. And I did feel quite robbed of that, because of COVID. And I was quite scared going in initially to have Ben. However, I was induced, and the women I was induced with on the ward, we got on really well. It was quite nice to share that experience with the women. I think that's something that probably wouldn't have happened if partners were allowed to come in. We'd formed really strong bonds. We spoke about how far we were in our induction and what was happening next, and it was just a really kind of coming together experience, I suppose. The midwives as well got really involved in all of our conversations, and when I look back, actually there's quite a lot of laughter involved in the whole process, which wasn't something that I expected. There was no fear once I got in there. Everything went really smoothly, even with the midwives wearing masks and aprons and gloves and stuff like that. It wasn't impersonal. It was still kind of very much about you and your baby and the health of both of you. When my partner did eventually get to come in, he was treated really well as well. He was offered a bed, and the next morning he was offered tea and toast. And even after I'd had Ben, he actually had tea and toast with me. And he was allowed to stay for a good amount of time, which was quite nice just for that bonding experience. And then I suppose afterwards, when I was brought down, I think that was the scariest part for me and the bit that I worried about the most, just because I kind of had that fear of who's going to watch the baby while I go to the toilet. And it's not a case where I could just ask the person next to me, because you don't want people touching your baby, because what if they had been around someone that had COVID? And I had all these fears. But when I got down to the postnatal ward, it turned out that the women that I'd been with on the induction ward were right with me. So we just went straight back to having those conversations at the end of the bed and looking at each other's babies from afar, and it was a lovely experience. And the midwives were amazing. At one stage they'd come around during the night and ask me had I gotten any sleep, and then they offered to take the baby for an hour and feed him and change him, just so that I had the time to go to the toilet or have a shower. And it was just a really, really lovely experience altogether. Even the care afterwards, the community midwives that came out to the house, I was let go the next day, and the midwives came out to the house 3 times and had conversations in the car with me to run through any concerns that I had, and then flew into the house to have a look at Ben and myself and make sure we were recovering well. And I suppose if I had any advice for anybody who is still to go in, it would be kind of push those fears aside. It is obviously a really scary time, and yes, it's hard because your partner's not being there, but if you're a first time mum like me, you've nothing to compare it to, and everyone's journey is different, and it was still magical. So yeah, I can't wait for the second baby.